Hi, friends and partners. I was sitting out on the back porch just thinking about you guys, and I know some things that are ahead, and so I thought I would share with you and just teach a little bit here. So maybe I can get this this phone still here. But what I wanted to share with you is that we have turned a corner, and we know that God is doing major things in changing our nation and changing all of us. But what I want us to begin to think about and really meditate on is, where is your part? What are you supposed to be doing? Are you prepared properly for what's ahead? Now, we know there's going to be some bumps in the road. We don't know exactly what they're going to be or how they're going to be. We also know there's a great transfer of wealth, but that's not the important thing as far as the money part. The transfer of what is happening on the inside of us, where we're getting to the point to where we're getting free from what has been holding us and our nation back for who knows how many generations. You know, just like the Israelites, when they've been there over 400 years, them getting free, getting across the Red Sea, getting to go into their inheritance, that's what was important. So what we want to look at is, where are we? Where are you? How are you positioned? How do you understand what God is saying to you? How do you know exactly what you need to do next? Do you need to sell your house? Do you need to keep your house? Do you need to buy a house? Do you need to maybe change, I don't know, your church? Or do you need to change locations? Or do you need to stay put? So we've got a lot of things we got to think about, but we have to prepare. And the biggest thing I can see that's coming, and I've been talking to y'all about this a long time, the biggest thing would be, are we prepared spiritually and emotionally? Emotionally is really big. This transfer, what we want is, we want that junk that's been on the inside of us from our yesterdays. We want that junk transferred out of us, because if we start fighting the big guys, you know, the giants and all that, we want to be in the utmost health we can be. We want to be mentally strong, sober, sound, you know, like Peter said. We want to be where we know, where we're not fighting each other, but we're really finding out who the real enemy is and how we are supposed to be able to defeat that enemy. Now, some of your enemies might be the same as mine, or maybe not. And so we've got to say, Lord, what is in me that you need to do, that you can show me? Because I'm in a new season. Am I acting new? Am I thinking new? And I'm not talking about just putting on and acting like and saying all the right things. I'm talking about deep down inside, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you think, oh my God, you know what's going to happen next. I'm talking about what's really going on inside you. Do you have control over your flesh? Do you have, like Paul said, he said, I had to learn how to discipline my flesh in case goofy things happen. Do you have control over your thoughts, or do your thoughts lead, guide, and direct you? And like, you know, you're on an emotional roller coaster like we've talked about before. Do you have your finances under control, or do you just spend money thinking, oh, well, tomorrow I'm going to get up and there's going to be a big transfer. I'm going to have zillions of dollars in my bank account. Well, that might happen, but then again, it might not. So we've got to really, I want you to learn how to face reality and face what's going on. How's it going in your marriage? How's it going with your kiddos and your family? How's it going on your job? Do you know how to have supernatural favor? Do you know how to be diligent on your job to the place to where you're getting promotions and you're getting increases? Or is the other happening? So we got to think about this. So we're in a brand new season. And when we're in a brand new season, I've noticed in my yard, and I'm sure y'all's yard is the same way, there's weeds grow just faster, it seems like, than the flowers I plant. And when you get ready to mow, you think, where's my grass? You know, I see nothing but weeds out there. So what we have to do is we say, all right, we're in a new season. What exactly does that mean to me and my family? Because I like to talk to individuals. I like to talk to one-on-one. I like for people to see how this prophetic thing applies to me right now today. how do I walk it out? What does that mean? And I'll just give you a little illustration. It was way back decades ago, when we bought this piece of property. I had to learn how did Joshua taking over Jericho, how did that apply to me in the natural, in my family? What did we have to do? And we did some interesting prophetic acts, but we didn't go around telling everybody except our friends that loved us. We knew it'd be okay. But we did things that strengthened us. It strengthened our faith where we could actually do what we need to do to be able to possess this land, and we did it. And so you take the scriptures and then you see, Lord, what do I do about that? So once we got it, though, the next thing I want to tell you is I had to learn a bunch of stuff about accounting and interest rates and all kinds of things that we worked to plan. God showed me a plan of how for us to get it paid off. And so it wasn't just the supernatural, I'm confessing all these scriptures, but God showed me how to take the scriptures and put them into my daily action. And so that's what I'm talking to you about. How do you do that? If God is telling you, okay, I want you to do this, and you're going to become this, and you're going to have a business, or, you're going to get married, or you're going to have babies, or whatever. How do you put it into action? How do you take the scriptures and have them apply to you on a regular basis? So one of the things I always tell people is we got to study, pray. But we have to have an intimate relationship with God so that when we're praying, we know He's talking to us. And we learn to hear His voice. One of the wonderful scriptures I love is when Gabriel came to Mary, she said, I don't quite grasp everything you're saying. I don't understand how this can be, but be it done unto me according to your word. Now, do we have our faith developed that way? Do we have the grace in us and the grace we can receive every day to have the power to be able to walk through the difficulty that she walked through? She walked through some hard days. I mean, that wasn't easy. That sounds, isn't this wonderful? An angel visited, and we had all this supernatural. Well, you think about what she actually went through, even through His crucifixion. So do we have the grace? Now we're moving into this abundant grace, this double grace. We know that. We've been hearing about that. I've been teaching about that since I started this ministry in 1991. I named it Embracing His Grace. And so I was like, when the Lord told me to call this ministry Embracing His Grace, I said, oh me, do I get to go to grace school? I had so much to learn, but I finally understood if I could have faith in His grace is what would change me. Change my wrong thinking into right thinking. Give me the strength to be able to overcome. That's what He told Paul in Corinthians 12. He said, my grace is sufficient for you. You're going to get rid of this thorn that's in your flesh. Well, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to do it with my grace. And so we have to understand we're in this outpouring of double grace. We're in this place of amazing, but we have to understand how to receive His grace. And we have to understand how Father, is this going to help me today, right now, when I'm going through my hard times. And I shared, in fact, not too long ago, I was talking to a prophet, and I said, well, I call it giggle grace. And he said, giggle grace? How'd you get that? And I said, well, I looked up the root meaning of the word grace, and it's talking about joy, and how joy, when it comes up and grace has done its work, then we have a reflection of joy comes out of this grace. And so I said, Lord, how am I going to know when grace is really working? And I've told this story so many times. He said, well, when you giggle instead of get mad, aggravated about stuff that you used to get aggravated about, and then you find yourself giggling. So this is crazy. And I've shared this time and time again, but I don't like going through drive-thrus very much. And so anyway, I would say, please don't put any cheese or onions on my hamburger. And of course that would happen. And so I was just like, ugh, and so sometimes I'd throw them away, or I'd try to scrape the stuff off. Anyhow, so it happened after this grace encounter I had with the Lord. And so I went through the drive-thru, and sure enough, there was onions and cheese all over the place. And so I opened it, I smelled it, and I said, God. And I started laughing. And when I did, I said, is that grace working? And he said, yes. He said, I told you that when you had grace working, you would laugh about things that used to upset you. And that way you would know you're growing in grace. Now, this was probably 30 years ago. But anyway, I learned that I could have giggle grace. And so every time now when I go, I go, whoops, I need grace in that area. Something is not right in my thinking. And so I'm just telling you all, God is pouring out his double grace so that we can have strength, we can have ability, so that we have what it takes for us to be strong enough to take these giants down. We're going to do that. You have to do your giants. I'll come and help you with your giants, but I got my giants and I got to do them, but you can come and help me with my giants. And so how we're going to do that is we're going to get a plan from God. We're going to follow this plan every day. We're studying. We're listening to God. He's helping us take the word and put it into action with all the people and the situations we encounter that particular day. And then we walk it out. He orders our steps in his word. And so I'm just trying to encourage you. What if, I don't know, maybe the stock market does goofy things. What if, I don't know, maybe the dollar does crazy things. What if we start hearing stuff we don't want to hear? Listen, grace is your answer. He told Paul, he said, you can overcome with this grace of mine. And so look at Paul at the end of his life. You know what he said? He said, God delivered me out of them all. So let's get strong. Let's run our race. Get your body strong. Get your mind strong. Get your spirit strong. And let's intend on winning this, because there is a transfer. It's happening. And you sure do want it to happen to you. Not only financially, but in the natural. You want your body to be resurrected to where you're strong and running. You want your mind to be sound. You want to be like, hey, I can do that. What if God asks you to do something really big? And you're like, okay, take a deep breath. And when you breathe in grace and say, yes, I can do that. You are equipping me and you're showing me how to get it done. Anyway, I know I'm just talking, but I want to encourage you. We're in a